Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Larry Mazza.
And again, I didn't call him and ask him. That was a question somebody else asked, and that's his answer. So why is he coming on now trying to downplay that? What's the sense?
So what, was he lying then? Was he lying then?
Yeah. Why do it? I mean, why? What do you have to gain? Is it the ratings? Is he doing it using my name to get ratings for a couple of $100 for these interviews? Well, you tell me. Why doesn't he just tell his own life story? The only two people that I've ever said derogatory or not nice things about is Greg Sr., and he did too. Now it's changing for some reason. And the worst thing I said is about John Gotti. I didn't berate him and say he was all I said was he wasn't somebody I wanted to emulate. I didn't want to be in the limelight. I didn't want to be bucking heads with the government every 2 weeks. I didn't need to, put it in their face. I was sort of quietly doing my own thing. As a matter of fact, when the started, me and Jimmy opened the club somewhere else in my neighborhood, a little clubhouse, and the Pates used to come there. People I did sports business with in the family would come there because they didn't want to come to the club, and I didn't want them to come to the club. I knew there were pictures being taken all day. So that makes me young. So I'm not a tough guy. Maybe I'm a smart guy, but I'm not a tough guy. I went and opened up my own little place, and we took care of business quietly in the background. So I always said that, John, guys like him, that flamboyant, didn't do anything good to the life. That's the worst thing I said about him. And in my book, I said, but it is disgusting how the government treated him after he got convicted. Put him in that solitary for all those years. I said it about Greg Jr. too. That's unnecessary. Enough is enough. You're going to leave him in a hole. And they all, you know what? In that hole, they all get cancer. They all get the throat cancer.
Yeah.
There's something to that too. All right? That's how John Gotti died. That's Greg Jr. got sick. Bobby Zam, I don't think he spent that much time in the hole, but he wound up with throat cancer. So many of the guys he did a lot of time in MCC. That recycled air, there's something to it. There's something to it.
Yeah, and the water's no good.
Yeah. No, exactly. But though, really, I don't come on like, when they put this thing against John A. Light years ago. He's the worst. He's a liar. He's this, he's that. Stop it. Man, he's going on there. He's telling his story. If he wants it to be interesting or tell it in a way that is more familiar or funny or whatever, who am I to say he's a liar? I protect the guy. I say, listen, you can't say he wasn't around John. There's pictures of him with Junior all over the place. Pictures of him coming in and out of the club. He got friggin' all this time, and guys flipped on him. I mean, but they did it. I never went out and said bad things. They do it to Mike Francesi. You never see me go on and say he's a nobody. He didn't shoot anybody. He didn't do it. What do I care? He made more money than all of us. I wish I had his life.
Greg talks about what happened with Vic, and I've interviewed some people. I interviewed someone that was there at the time when all this happened, and he told me a different story about what happened.
One day, Vic had an open court on handball. Greg Scarpa Jr. and his friend approached Vic, and his friend asked Vic if they wanted to play doubles, and Vic said no because dude's old man's a snitch, and I don't know if he's tainted. He might be one too. I don't know. And so later that day or that evening, we had all had some pasta, and Vic was washing his bowl out in the mop closet. He was bent over that, and Greg Scarpa Jr. walked in there with a pipe and cracked him in the back of the head with it. Game over, 170 stitches.
Well, all right, you say you heard that from an interview. That's one person's version. Gregory told me his version, and I asked him. I told him what I had heard first. Okay,
but his version is that he made guys that were around Vic, you guys go away and leave us here to talk.
All right.
That would never happen. I mean,
well, in the can, the one thing I'll say, in the can, everybody's got to leave their button at the door. Okay, everybody's equal. Okay, that doesn't mean some guys don't get more respect. All right. So that aside, that's a good point. But I heard it firsthand from somebody that was transferred to the prison I was in. And I told him my version first. And it had something to do with him saying, your father ruined the life. He ruined our families, our kids. If I ever get out, I'm going to hurt your kids. That's what I heard. And when I heard that and I heard Gregory gave him the beat, and I was proud. I was like happy to hear that. Okay. Well, no, I'm not a tough guy, so I should have been happy to hear that. But I was. Okay. I was happy to hear that. Because the guy had it coming if he talked about his kids that way. Then Gregory told his version on my interview. And I said, okay. Like I say about me, I wasn't there. I heard it from him. Now you just told something you heard, and Gregory told his. I'm sure the whole truth is somewhere in the middle. Maybe he did mention the kids. Maybe this guy heard him say something, and Gregory doesn't remember that this guy said something about the kids. Maybe it was in the mop closet, and Gregory didn't want to say that because he snuck up on him. I don't know. And I'm not saying that's the case, but we all have three different versions. I'm not calling anybody a liar. Okay, I didn't lie about what I heard. I wasn't there. But this is what this person firsthand told me, and then Gregory told me on my interview. But I get it. I see your point. You know, if I was in the camp with Gregory or Greg Sr., and somebody came over and told me, walk away, because they were going to go to work on Greg.
You know that something was heated between them two.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving his side.
No.
So I get your point. But I don't know, again, I don't know. I can't attest to, I can't say that exactly what happened. It might have, maybe not. So you got three versions. They're all similar, but the bottom line is Vic got hurt real bad. And it's bad enough that there was a vendetta now, and that's part of the reason they put Junior in the hole.
Yeah, I think he was going to end up getting killed if he was in power.
Well, that's a possibility, or he'd be killing a lot of people. And then another thing that came up again is the Wahlberg thing. All
right, how did all this transpire with the Wahlberg thing?
No,
did you get a phone call?
This was way before our thing.
Yeah.
He mentioned to me that he might have something going on, and I only wanted to help because I already did my thing with the Irishman. Okay, he calls it a cameo in the thing. I was a principal in the scene. When you're a principal, you get paid SAG principal money, and it's decent. I'll tell you that. Okay, we had to do 40 takes for that little scene. 40. So that gets you a little bit more. Okay, I get residuals. Not monthly anymore, but maybe every 3 to 4 months I get a residual. It's not shattering, but you'd be surprised. For what I get, you can imagine what De Niro gets. All right. I also got paid way more than he did, unless he lied to me about how much he made. He didn't have to lie to me. There's no reason to, especially at that point. But he got abused by Wahlberg. Okay,
that's what they do, though. That's what they do.
Course. But I didn't. They paid me very well. I stayed in a first-class hotel, got per diems the whole week that I was there with him, and it opened doors for me. I got a couple of other parts. Not that I was looking to be an actor my whole life, but you know what? I'm not going to close the door to anything that my new life brings. Okay? And each part that I got, I did a very good job, they told me. They said, you're a natural. But I was always playing a corrupt guy or gangster. So you're not really acting. You just, as a matter of fact, I told one guy after I did that, The Perfect Murder, where I played the corrupt cop behind the bar, they said I was unbelievable because I was able to change the script and use my own words and stuff. I says, do me a favor. I appreciate that, but don't call me for Hamlet. I says, call me for all the corrupt gangsters you want. That I can do. It's easy, So I've been on several documentaries, okay, and never once did anybody on any of those documentaries doing it, fact-checking, proofing, whatever they do, tell me I'm a liar, okay? I got to go back to it. That's all they have. He's going to go on podcast after podcast after podcast saying Larry's a liar. He's this. He's no tough guy. He's not. That's all he's going to do. Why isn't he telling his own story? Get a book out. You do a lot better doing that than this childish stuff that other people are abusing us, making comments both ways. You know, I cringe when I read some of the things about me. I cringe when I see some of the things they write about him. You know, so it's stupid. But you know, and then I hear that it's really not him. But until I see the video, then I see the video. But yeah, we did hear her in the background. So I don't know. I don't know what he's looking to gain. But it's, you know, he's the one that changed, not me. And you could just see it from my original interview with him. People said a camaraderie we had. You could see your two good friends talking. We were candidly talking about stuff. We didn't make it up. It wasn't scripted, you know. And again, he should have said something right there and then. If he had this hatred for me, that I'm such a big liar, he's going to say, "Oh, over these 5 years, he learned that." No, he just learned that after the RV situation put a dent in our friendship, and it didn't have to sever it. It just put a dent. That whatever. But now it's got to the point where, you know, he said it could never be put back together. I said it before. I'd accept an apology, and then I'll say what I have to say. And that may be part of an apology too. But I'm not going to initiate it because I did nothing wrong. Okay? And I'm not a liar.
So he says that you owe him hundreds of thousands of dollars and all this business when he went to prison.
Well, we talked about that. It was $60,000 that I was paying juice on. I said it before.
But everything that happened,
never got a break.
You walked away from that life. You don't
We're
owe
all away from
anybody
the
anything.
life. They tried to rob me, so I forgave the loans. And at the time, I forgave them until I come home. That was I told all these people, tell them they don't owe until I come home. Just put it on the side. When I come home, you pick up the payments or pay me my money. And they were forgiven. Okay. Greg already came out that he was bad, so he has no claim to anything, you know. And it was $60,000. So if you want to count the RV, the 25 I got him from my producer Joe Paletto, an additional 10 or so at least that I took from Joe Paletto. What are we up to? 25, 45, 55. The envelope I gave him the day I went to Iowa to see him, you're up to 60 already. And all the little 500s and thousands and 600 and for 4 years I gave him, it's way over to 60. And I didn't do that because of that. Believe me, I didn't do it because I did not owe that. After it came out that we were both under a fraud, we were both under government protection. We're all ratting away, if that's the way we existed under him. Okay. And I had people, instead of helping me while I was facing life, tried to rob they went to my family while I was in jail for that $600 a week. My mother chased his son, Greg's other son, the youngest one, chased him and his friend Joe, who Gregory knows who I'm talking about. I called him Joe Tuna, chased them out of the yard and said, "Don't ever come back here again." Okay. And my mother's got a streak in her. So they didn't come back. And the other thing is, if they did come back, my Uncle Albert would have killed him right in the fucking yard. Okay, my Uncle Albert.
You were trying to get money from her when you were
in
prison?
Yes. Now, my Uncle Albert goes back to the 50s with Sally D, who would have been the boss of the family. That's why I think they had Tim whacked out. But that was one of the toughest guys in the history. And that was my Uncle Albert's best friend. Okay, goes back Joe Jelly. Okay, these are guys that would eat up most of the guys today. Went back with Junior Persico. The hit in the Godfather scene, that's Junior Persico strangling the guy. My Uncle Albert was a crash car outside. There's no doubt about that. It's a fact. So if they would have kept bothering his sister, my mother, he would have killed them in the driveway.
I believe
so it. They stayed away. And he would have been the guy on Avenue U, but what happened with Nicky Black, a lot of people don't know that. Nicky Black wasn't even supposed to get straightened out. Why? Because he took the motorcycle cop test as a kid. Yeah. But when he started knocking around, and whoever he was under, I want to say, and don't hold me to this because, maybe I'm wrong and then I'm a liar again. Whoever his captain was, and it might have been Charlie Moose. It might have been. Wanted him to get straightened out when he got into the Teamsters and he became a heavyweight with the Teamsters and the money was huge. So when he got straightened out, it was with a stipulation that he never rise above soldier. That came from Junior Persico. So that's why he had this vendetta against Junior, because he was never going to move up. And Vic made him a captain. Greg did say that in the last thing. He made him a captain during the war. So does that mean he's not a captain? Or after the war, he's not a captain? He made him a captain. Okay. So I killed the captain during the war. And he was next in line for Consigliere if they would have won. But the point is, he held my Uncle Albert back because my Uncle Albert did all the work. He knows he was way tougher than Nicky. My uncle would have ate him up and spit him out. Okay, I know a lot of the neighborhood hits that were done from my Uncle Albert. So, we both have a gene in us. I got a little bit of Uncle Albert's gene. Not enough, probably, but I had just enough to survive everything.
So you helped Junior a lot, right? Do you regret helping him, even with the RV, with everything that has gone on? Do you regret helping him?
I don't know if regret is the word, because when I did it, I did it really out of the goodness of my heart. I did it because I didn't want to see the poor guy suffer anymore. He got it the worst. Okay. I regret, I do, because of what became of it now. Okay. I don't care if he had a fight with his girlfriend or whatever. If he was living in a tent, it wouldn't matter to me. I don't want to see that. Don't get me wrong. So I gave him the RV. But the part I regret is what came of it. I regret giving it to him, because if she kills somebody that night, it's a big if. Well, it's not a big if. It's an if. It's my life is ruined. I'm going to be sued. What are you allowing this girl to run around with you?
Yeah, you'd be responsible.
Right.
Plates on the back.
So do I regret it? No. And I don't regret helping him, because then it means I had an ulterior motive, which I didn't. I wasn't scared of him. I didn't owe him anything. There's no reason. Okay. We're both out of the life. You've seen him on the interview. He's recommending kids never get into this life. And he's right. Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't mean we're both not. Well, he's a tough guy. I'm not. I'm not. But it doesn't mean we're not who we are.
Does it matter what people say?
Oh, certain things matter. Certain things matter. Yeah. People call you a liar. Now, again, is everything a zillion % accurate? Maybe not, because it's 50 years ago. Different things happen. Different people are in and out of meetings. But the gist of my life story is accurate and true. When they went on the thing about me being gay, that, if I had any guilty feelings to that, well, first of all, let's pull something on, in case anybody woke is watching. There's nothing wrong with that if that's the way you want to be.
I mean, today's day and age,
right.
People all over the place, right?
Throw that at me, knowing. I mean, again, now I'm going to be a little egotistical, knowing how many beautiful girls I had in my life. Did you, the wife I have now, she won beauty contests. You saw the pictures of my wife, right?
Yeah.
Post one of the pictures of her, so they could see if I'm gay, if I'm with this girl, if I'm lucky enough to be with her. My last wife, Christine, was probably one of the prettiest girls in Bensonhurst. All the guys were after her from our club. I got, why did Linda pick me? Because I was gay? It's stupid. So, stupid things like that. So it bothered me for a second. But again, I mean, it's so painfully obvious that that's not the case that I just ignored it. But I can't ignore slander, but I'm not going to initiate. And if this is the last one I see, somebody's going to send me a picture of somebody posting something that's derogatory. A lot of it I just ignore if they're keyboard guys that want to, play the game. But if it's coming from somebody that matters, or they get too personal, or I'm going to answer it. But I'm never going to initiate. I'm not going to come on here and start saying bad things about people that I have a little bit of and I don't mean them or anybody that I have a vendetta with, or I have a beef with, or I have a disagreement with, or did something that I didn't like. I'm not going to go on. I'm not getting on here and looking at the camera and start saying he's nobody. He's a. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. Okay?
I will give him the opportunity. I'll bring both of you guys on. You guys can have a conversation. If you're up for it,
we could. Yeah, but the problem. Yeah, we could. But the problem with that is They're two alpha males. Okay. He's going to just, I believe he's going to continue to say the things he's saying, and I'm going to continue to say the things I'm saying. So I don't know what that's going to do other than give somebody more ratings. And
yeah, but will it ever end?